Now, more on that feud between the Mandelas over the reburial of relatives, which has been a hot topic among experts on tradition, as you've just seen. And this morning, we continue to take a closer look at this spat and discuss whether a child can conduct a funeral or if it should be left to the elders. Let's now speak to Professor Sihawukele Ngubane, who is the head of African Studies at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Professor, good morning. Thank you very much for your time. Simply put, in this case of this reburial, I would just want to know, firstly, from your perspective, should Magaziwe have led this whole thing?
Yes, thank you very much for inviting me. Maybe let me start off by wishing Tata Mandela a speedy recovery, and we are all praying for him. I think in response to your question, the matter of burials is a community affair, and it is not a playground for children, but people who are adults are responsible for conducting funerals.
Now, in terms of this situation, we've seen Mandela, who is currently a chief at Mvezo. And from what I recall, Nelson Mandela's own father was also a chief of Mvezo many years ago, having been appointed by the then king of the Tembu people. What rights does Mandela have?
Mandela's father was a chief, and then Mandela, Nelson Mandela, was supposed to be appointed as a chief, and then he, being involved in politics, had an arrangement with his grandson to be the chief. And I think he is the rightful chief of the Batembu family. But in this case, as I said when I started, this is a communal affair. You cannot conduct any funeral rites on your own without consulting the elders in the family, because he is the grandson. Although he is a chief, he has to consult the elders within the family, because in the hierarchy of the family, it is the highest person in the hierarchy that is responsible for conducting funerals and burials.
Now, in this particular case, Magaziwe took the whole issue to court. She's also a child of Tata Madiba. In your view, she should have gone to the elders, not to the court?
In my view, Tata Nelson Mandela is a man of reconciliation and unity. In my view, my sister Magaziwe should have consulted the elders in the family to resolve the dispute, because it is not a matter of the courts, but it is a matter that relates to the ancestors. Because when you conduct an act of this nature, you need to slaughter an animal so that you shed blood to plead to the ancestors and inform the ancestors that we are taking the body to another place, so that the spirits and the shades will follow the bodies to the new residence. So you cannot just do it alone, because the presence of elders allows the elders to know the hierarchy of the ancestors, because when you speak to the ancestors, you must know how to call them in the chronological order. But if you don't know the history of that family, it is difficult that you can communicate to the ancestors, because before you do anything, you have to prepare a Zulu or Xhosa traditional beer, and then you slaughter. If you don't have enough money, you can slaughter a chicken or a goat, or if you can afford, you can slaughter a cow to inform the ancestors of your intention, because talking to the ancestors is like praying to God. You just have to follow the custom or the ritual, because death is the rite of passage that should be respected, and the people who are laid to rest needs to be respected.
Okay. Thank you very much, Professor Sihawukele Ngubane, the head of African Studies at the University of KwaZulu-Natal.
News that moves. eNCA.com.